So, jumping into the summary, it isn't necessarily clear why, in the world of Animal Kingdom, that people are starting to turn into different animals, but the mutation is spreading and the government is just starting to really pursue any kind of response. This is the world we're given as Francois watches his wife turn into a werewolf, and he's trying to uproot his family, which includes his son Emile, down to the southern part of France so that they can be near where all the different transformation people are being held. Though in this film they call them critters. But unfortunately for Francois, his son Emile has apparently inherited this genetic trait, and slowly but surely he finds himself growing claws, becoming hairy, and this is all while he's a teenager who just moved to this new environment, has this crush on this girl named Nina who may have reciprocal feelings, and he doesn't know where can fit in considering he's already an odd kid, and while Nina has, I think it's ADD or ADHD, so she kind of gets him, or at least wants to get him. At the same time, the more he transforms, the more he feels akin to people like his mom who are becoming physical animals, not just hybrids, but actual animals. So he finds himself teeter-tottering between trying to stay connected with his father and Nina while recognizing that eventually he's going to be like his mom and he may need to eventually find his own community of critters to exist in this world, hopefully safely. So get into the review section. Unfortunately, the whole Nina and Emile relationship, as cute as it sometimes is, it's also a little bit weird. Partly because how much Nina pushes her ADHD in order to kind of, not justify, but kind of sidestep all of Emile's odd reactions to her or the way he treats her. Whether it is him licking her, starting a little spat with her in regards to a feather that she holds from someone who wasn't even his mom or anybody, but it's a lot of series of weird moments that, ADHD or not, I can't imagine any, or an average girl even really looking at these situations and not thinking, you are giving me all the red flags that mean I should stay away from you. Especially because it's not like Nina is pushed to be some kind of outcast or some type of weird girl who sits by herself and everything. She seems to be fairly popular, has options, and yet the amount of passes that Emile is given goes beyond what you can probably just suspend disbelief for. The next on-offense topic is, when it comes to this film, it is probably a bit more toned down than what you might be used to or what you think this should be. Now, on the positive side, when it comes to the physicality and the look of all the critters, it's done very well. And I would say it's probably more practical effects than any type of CGI type of stuff. However, on the flip side, what is very clear with Animal Kingdom is this is the early days. The government has just discovered this mutation is starting to really spread as not isolated pockets, so their response has just started. So from the national government to local police, it's not chaotic and hectic, but at the same time, they're still correlating, I think that's what I'm looking for, a response to everything. So with that in mind, the movie doesn't necessarily present that it has an end game. There's no search for a cure, and though there is an effort to lock away these people, to study them and figure out what's going on, it's not a strong focus. So what you see instead is Emile have this sort of coming of age story as he slowly but surely becomes a wolf, tries to hide his symptoms, try to have some type of normalcy with his father and Nina, and being that this film is almost a little past 2 hours, seeing this go on and on, it may be some highlights like when Emile makes a friend who's turning into some type of bird and watching that person fly. That can be a little bit of a highlight. But for the most part, it seems the selling point is the look of everything and what you may expect to happen in this movie, but what's delivered to you doesn't match that or find a different avenue that can make you fully appreciate what was trying to be done. Overall, when it comes to Animal Kingdom, while there's a need to admit that there is a certain level of intrigue, especially with how it does the visual effects. And I would even say because it doesn't necessarily tap into the usual narrative that the fantasy or sci-fi genre have in films like this, there was initially some kind of hope for it. But unfortunately, while you have to praise it for going off the beaten path, it also goes onto a path that feels way too tame, sometimes aimless, and because it's 2 hours and it doesn't really present something to really keep you engaged over that amount of time, it doesn't make for the best get home watching, especially considering all the other options that you have.